Alright, what is going on, everyone? First and foremost, I want to say thank you for being here right now, watching this video. I'd really appreciate your time, and I'd really appreciate if you do consider subscribing, because it truly does help me out a lot. Now, we got Ilia Topuria, man, making a smart move. A lot of people are calling him out for this, basically hating. But at the end of the day, he's making a very smart move. He recently came out basically saying he's only going to fight once or twice a year. And he's also going to retire by the age of 30 to 32 years old. So he's only going to be in the UFC for about 5 more years. And, he's calling out a lot of big names, too. You get what I mean? It's not like he's ducking anybody trying to stay in his own division. He's calling out a lot of big names, a lot of big talented people like Islam and everybody else, bro. But at the end of the day, man, he was pretty active trying to get that title shot, and now he got it. Now he just wants to rest and always be 100% pretty much. He's not trying to be active and burn all his athleticism with his age. You get what I mean? Because if he only fights once a year or twice a year, man, he's always going to be 100% every fight, no excuses. So yeah, man, and he's God-gifted talent, bro. You get what I mean? God-gifted talent. He's a great fighter. So yeah, man, without further ado, let's just
champions has come to a close as Ilia Topuria crushed Alexander Volkanovski with a right hand and ended Alex's featherweight reign. That marks the last fighter with 5 consecutive title defenses, with Izzy's reign originally ending with his first fight against Alex and really ending with Sean Strickland. And then we saw Kamaru's dominant reign at welterweight end with his 2 losses to Leon Edwards. With these 3 dominant champions all losing within the last year or so, the tough question is, who will be the next guy to dominantly reign over their division? Seems like we're in a very interesting time in the UFC where no division currently has a truly dominant champion, which I would define as 5 or more consecutive title defenses in their current divisions. But after last week's performance against Volkanovski, today I want to make my case as to why Ilia Topuria has the highest chances of being the next dominant champion in the UFC. Additionally, I also wanted to reason why I think the other champions have a lower likelihood of getting 5 consecutive title defenses, at least relative to Ilia Topuria. So let's get into the most obvious and biggest factor as to why I think Ilia is going to be dominant, and that is age. Age is by far the biggest reason why I think Ilia will most likely achieve 5 consecutive title defenses.
I'm not gonna lie, Ilia Topuria is very, very, very young. Very, very, very young. You get what I mean? For a champion, you get what I mean? And yeah, he's going to be champion for a very long time, because not only that, by the time he gets all of his title defenses and he's in the UFC for 5 years, bro, he's going to retire not even at his prime. Your prime is I'm pretty sure your prime is like 34, 35, right? And he's going to retire at the age of 30 to 32, bro. So, very, very smart move, but let's keep going.
And rule over his division the longest. As we saw in our last video and a video made by MMA On Point, we concluded that 33 to 34 seems to be the peak of UFC fighters, and win rate really starts to decrease after 33. Given Ilia is a ripe 27 years old, he by far has the biggest window of opportunity to stay a champion. The 2 guys I would imagine people would point to as the next dominant champ is Islam Makhachev and Leon Edwards. However, both those guys are 32 years old with 2 title defenses respectively, so I doubt that they can get 3 more defenses before they reach that dreaded 33 to 34 mark. As dominant as Islam seems like in his division,
I'm not gonna lie, Islam is also a very smart fighter coming behind Khabib. He's also planning on retiring. I don't know when, but he's gonna retire, bro, once he gets everything set. So it's not like he's just gonna stay and be active and deteriorate his health and burn his athleticism. He's a great fighter, and he's making smart moves with the help of Khabib. So yeah, man, can't really go wrong with that. But let's keep going.
He doesn't fight during Ramadan, meaning a good chunk of the year is basically gone from a potential title defense. Apparently, Islam was offered to fight for UFC 300, but due to Ramadan, he had to decline any offers. And I know it may be weird to say this, but given the numbers and given that he doesn't fight a big chunk of the year, he has a lower likelihood of getting 3 more consecutive title defenses than you may think, or at least lower than Ilia Topuria. As for Leon Edwards, he obviously doesn't have the Ramadan problem, but ironically, his biggest threat to not being on top is still Muslim. And no, not this one, this one. Shavkat Rakhmonov, in my opinion, is such a huge threat to Leon's reign. He's younger at 29 years old, undefeated on an unprecedented 18-win streak and finish streak, with the last 6 of those being in the UFC. You might have me at the stake like this, but I truly think once Shavkat gets that opportunity, he will win over Leon. I just think his deadly finishing ability both on the feet and on the ground is such a terrible matchup for Leon, and pending no upset loss by Bilal, who should be next, Shavkat probably gets his shot right after, or at least way before Leon gets 3 more title defenses, meaning Leon Edwards obviously will not get to that 5 defense mark. And speaking of threats, I also think Ilia Topuria has a better chance at taking care of his threats in his division than most other champions. Max Holloway is by far the biggest threat to Ilia, for sure. He's a former champion, he beat everyone in the division but Volk, but the main problem I have with Max being able to take the throne from Ilia Topuria early is the fact that he's going to fight Justin Gaethje very, very soon. The Justin Gaethje effect is a really interesting video, which shows historically Justin Gaethje seems to completely change up the trajectory of fighters' careers with the damage he dishes out. Additionally, the first time Max went up to 155, he got dominated by Dustin Poirier and shortly after lost to Volkanovski. And depending on how his fight goes with Justin Gaethje, the same thing could happen to Max again. Even without the historical context, I've said in the past that Max's main weakness is...
I'm not gonna lie, it's controversial because at the same time, a lot of people were saying, Max Holloway won a lot of times against Volkanovski, and Volkanovski only was able to dominate and put a certified win against Max Holloway only one time. But I don't know, man, but let's keep going.
Boxers with real 155 power as he struggles to find his groove against guys like Dustin Poirier and Volkanovski, and with what we saw against Volkanovski, Ilia could definitely be a problem for Max. As for other threats, I know I shouldn't MMA math, but I think if Ilia Topuria can take care of Max Holloway, then he should be able to take care of Yair too, given his power and grappling prowess. Movsar Evloev is another top guy and a potential threat to Ilia Topuria, and is pretty well-rounded and skilled and only 30 years old. But is it just me, or does it seem like Movsar is just one step below Ilia Topuria? Like, I get he is still undefeated, he has solid wins over Diego Lopez and Arnold Allen, but whenever I watch him fight, he doesn't seem like he's completely dominating these contenders like he should be. Additionally, he still is yet to have a finish in the UFC, so I really question whether or not he can dish out the same type of damage or deal with the same type of damage that Ilia can put out. So I think if Ilia can deal with these 3 top contenders, he can practically deal with everybody else. Another pretty good contender you guys brought up for being the next dominant champion is Tom Aspinall. And I know he's technically only the interim champion, but I think given John Jones' age and probably soon retirement, we'll look at the potential of Tom being on top instead of John. Of course, he's another great pick for a potential dominant champion as he's only 30 years old. He's super skilled and super fast for the heavyweight division. Specifically, has extremely fast hands and obviously great power as shown in the Sergey Pavlovich fight, and he also has really good grappling as well. The only problem I see with Tom Aspinall potentially being the next dominant champion is that it's the heavyweight division. Besides Stipe Miocic, it's damn near impossible to be dominant in this division, given that one punch can absolutely change everything. So because anything could happen in this division, basically
almost everybody in the heavyweight division has knockout power, so you never really know, bro, but let's keep going.
Division is a true threat to Tom Aspinall, which significantly lowers his chances of being a dominant champ, especially compared to Ilia Topuria. As for the chances for other champions to stay dominant in their division, starting out with Sean O'Malley, after what I saw with Merab, yeah, I have a very tough time seeing Sean get to 5 title defenses. Obviously, Sean O'Malley always has the nuclear option against Merab or any other threat in the division, but it's definitely much easier for a guy like Merab.
I'm not gonna lie, a guy like Sean O'Malley is like, a very low chance of, running through his division simply because he's not a complete fighter, bro. He's not a complete fighter. He's a one-trick pony who basically just depends on one punch, bro. You get what I mean? When there's nothing wrong with that. If you're blessed with the talent to just be able to knock out people all the time, yeah, but at the end of the day, bro, if you can't knock them out, what else do you have? You get what I mean? Like, for example, his fight against Peter Yan was extremely good fight, but a lot of people say he lost. You get what I mean? So, yeah, man, when you don't have the ability to knock out someone, what's gonna happen, bro? Like, are you able to grapple? I don't know. We've never really seen Sean O'Malley grapple. He's just been ragdolled all the time. But let's keep going.
Sean to his world and dominate than it is vice versa. Going down one, Alexandre Pantoja is definitely a dark horse in this race and possesses the skills to possibly stay on top, but I don't think he's going to be staying on top for very long. Within his next couple of title defenses, I do see Pantoja losing to someone in the top 5, because as good as Pantoja is, I don't think the gap between him and most other contenders is that vast that he could be considered dominant. Couple this with the fact that he's already 33 years old, I just don't see him getting any more than 2 title defenses, if that. As for the bigger weight classes, the middleweight and light heavyweight belts both seem impossible to defend once, let alone 5 times. Middleweight is so stacked and so deep right now, and the belt has changed 4 times over the past year-ish, and we are yet to see a title defense since Izzy had the belt under his reign. As for the current champion, Dricus du Plessis just had a close fight with Sean, so I could easily see Sean Strickland coming back to the top if given the chance. Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa just had a surprisingly great back and forth that showed Robert is still nice, but especially that Paulo Costa is still a legitimate contender. You also have Jared Cannonier, who has been looming at the top for quite some time now, and somewhere in the mix you have Khamzat Chimaev, who I still think is a huge threat to anyone in the division, so I just don't see Dricus du Plessis or anyone for that matter.
I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people say, like, and bash Khamzat for not being active. He was supposed to be a lot farther today, simply because he joined the UFC in 2020, right? And it's been 4 years. People expect so much from him, but at the end of the day, bro, he's I don't know, man. He's prioritizing his health the same way. You get what I mean? He's not being super active and things like that, and it's not really damaging his health. He's taking one step at a time. It's just like that performance against Kamaru Usman was pretty much amazing. You get what I mean? And when you're healthy, when you're a good fighter, right, and you're healthy and you're at your 100% to fight, bro, it's just like nothing can beat that, bro. So it's just like once Khamzat gets that shot, I believe he can pull it off, man. But without further ado, I'm gonna end the video here. Let me know what you guys think. And peace out, man.